well, what if the rocket goes underwater, then explodes, and then the whales have hearing damage? Like, this is real. This is actually, and we're like, look, if we could make a rocket go underwater and be a submarine, that would be like a feat of physics we could not accomplish, okay? This is not how it works. So anyway, just one like crazy thing after another where, you know, so this is why I'm like really feeling the pain of the overregulation. And there's like multiple federal agencies that have overlapping, you know, they're all doing the same thing, basically. So anyway, we got to stop this madness because we just won't be able to get anything done.
Hey, Elon. My name's Dean. I'm an engineering student here in Pennsylvania. My family moved out here from my home state of New Jersey because me and my brother were facing some injustices regarding the COVID vaccine mandates a couple of years ago.
Yeah, those were crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really nutty. I mean, like, I'm not anti-vaccine, but I'm anti-forcing people to take a vaccine, that's for sure.
Well, also, the COVID vaccine did not work.
Yeah, and and suppressing information about it and side effects, that was terrible. So, you know, it was like, you know, the Biden-Harris administration try to mandate that any company that has any federal contracts, which is most companies, would be forced to vaccinate everyone at the company, or that person would have to be fired. Now, thankfully, that was shut down by the Supreme Court. But, like, that's insane. That is a massive infringement on your liberty.
Yeah, so speaking to you right now, I mean, I recognize the magnitude of it, that I'm grateful for the opportunity to have your ear for a moment. And I wish I could, you know, talk about more than I'm going to be able to talk about right now with you, but I would like to touch on the topic of education reform. I've heard you express in the past some dissatisfaction with the way we go about education today. I found your concept of levels that a student can advance at his own pace to be compelling. If we include students, teachers, and administrators as occupations, education is the industry that employs the most people in the country. Our brightest minds are usually traversing the education system for their entire youth and early adulthood. Do you think it would be within the scope of the Department of Government Efficiency to try and investigate how we can minimize the misuse of Americans' money and, more importantly, their time by providing ways to streamline the process, avenues to certify oneself with aptitude tests, and somehow counteract the unproductive arms race of credentials and degrees?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. No, I think it's pretty nutty. Like, I mean, ironically, if you look at how Americans have performed in you know, in academic tests since the establishment of the Federal Department of Education, it's been downhill. So, like, why are we spending all this money for worse results? And then there's a lot of the money in education is actually for pushing propaganda, you know, instead of teaching kids the facts about the world, like, you know, things that are actually useful. So we definitely need to stop the propaganda, the pushing of the propaganda in schools, and teach kids skills that are actually useful. So, you know, and yeah, I'm a big believer in that. So.
Hi, Elon. Thanks for taking the time to do this. This is fantastic. My question involves regulation. Tesla full self-driving has the potential to save tens of thousands of lives per year. What do you think is the right way for regulators to look at the technology, and what factors do they look at to try to get to the goal of unsupervised self-driving? And I've seen its growth over time. I've been a beta tester since the safety score, and 12.5, 0.4, drove me here with zero intervention.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, I think that would be a good thing for there to be a federal mandate for self-driving. And really the threshold should just be that, do you have a statistically significant proof that when the car is in self-driving mode, that the probability of injury is much lower than if it's manually driven? You know, like well above the margin of error. Like, let's say it's like, I don't know, 50% or 100% better with 1 billion miles of driving. So if you've got a large data set and clear data to back it up, then I think you should obviously allow self-driving as soon as it is obviously safer than manual driving. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
Hi, Elon. My name is Molly Hughes. I'm an engineer from Lancaster. And I just want to say thank you for all you've done for free speech. And I realize that's saying almost nothing at all in proportion to what it's meant to all of us. My question is, given that Marxist ideology is responsible for the death of 100 million people in the 20th century, why do you think it's making a resurgence, and what can we do to help combat it in our daily lives?
I mean, I agree with you. It's kind of blowing my mind that, like, I thought that was a dead philosophy, but it's alive and well in a lot of our educational institutions. You know, I think part of it is that you've got a lot of colleges with these giant endowments that insulate them from reality. So you can sort of have this fake communist utopia at a university because they don't have any feedback loop to reality because they got these giant endowments and a ton of government funding too. So that allows them to be disconnected from the realities of you know, the free market. They take advantage of the free market, but they live in a sort of pseudo-communist world in a lot of these colleges. So they just don't get it. But it is remarkable, and there are a lot of memes about this, because like, how often do we need to run this experiment? You know, it should be very obvious that the economic structure, the economic philosophy that is the good one, is the one that does not need to build walls to keep people in. You know, so it's pretty like, you know, North Korea it builds a wall to keep people in. You know, East Germany had to build walls to stop people from going to West Germany. You know, the Berlin Wall was built by East Berlin, not West Berlin. So the philosophy that has to build a wall to keep people in, that's the bad one, okay? I don't know how it's so obvious. And yet you see a resurgence of it over and over again. And if you study history, actually, even in ancient times, this was you see this cycle of you know, it obviously wasn't called Marxism 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, but you have this back and forth between free market and sort of government, and free market and government, and it just seems to be the natural cycle of things. Yeah, but obviously I'm a big believer in the free market, the free market is just like, let people buy the things they want to buy and let people make the things they want to make. It's not that complicated.
Thank you so much for being here. My question is, what role do you think AI should play in our democratic republic? And how do you think it can be used to uphold our constitutional freedoms? And what do you think will be the potential consequences of creating AI that is far more intelligent and capable than human beings, with the exception of you, of course?